When you think of the end of humanity, you probably think of meteors, advancing AI, or nuclear warfare. But what if our extinction is around us already? Plants definitely aren't how you'd expect our inevitable end to come, but it's not out of the running. At best, the emergence of a superplant could change the world as we know it, and at worst, it could lead to a complete green death. Welcome back to my channel, I'm Denoisky, and today I'm going to tell you about superplants and the looming threat they carry over us. A superplant, by definition, is a plant that adapts to harsh conditions and begins thriving in all ecosystems. They have traits like being immune to biopesticides and pests. Basically just a really hard to kill plant that can live everywhere. Some examples of plants like this today are the Japanese knotweed and kudzu. Japanese knotweed survives in both hot and cold climate and is essentially immortal unless the root is removed. If even 1 centimeter of root is left, it can regrow the entire plant. It's considered one of the most invasive species in the world. Think of it like a hydra. You cut off one head to grow in its place. And it shares a lot in common with the kudzu, which was introduced by the government to feed livestock and stop erosion, but quickly became a headache when it wouldn't stop growing and spreading everywhere, gaining the nickname the vine that ate the South. Just one vine alone can cover hundreds of square feet, and under good conditions, it can grow a foot in a day. It can survive droughts, nutrient-poor soil, fire, herbicides, which is basically everything. Those are just 2 examples, but there are over 400,000 plant species on Earth. What happens if these simple nuisances become a bigger problem? Plants are smarter than we think. Here's the crazy part. Plants aren't as simple as they seem. They actually communicate with each other. When a plant is attacked by insects, it releases airborne chemicals that nearby plants pick up on. These plants start boosting their defenses, like producing toxins or thickening leaves before they're attacked. It's like a neighborhood watch for plants. And underground, it gets even weirder. Most plants are connected through fungal networks called mycorrhizae, sometimes called the Wood Wide Web. These networks let plants share nutrients and even help young seedlings grow by passing them food. Some scientists even believe large trees can prioritize who gets resources, acting like community leaders in the forest. Plants are sharing memes that we cannot even fathom. So yeah, plants might not talk like this, but they're far from passive. If they ever evolved as aggressively as we're imagining, they'd have some serious advantage. We already live in a world where scientists can change the DNA of plants without fully understanding the long-term effects. Genetic engineering of plants is all around us. It's basically all the plants we eat. We have things like BT corn, which literally kills insects as they eat it, and herb-resistant soybeans that can be sprayed with whatever toxins they want to put on them, and they just keep living. With genetic engineering, we can even make plants produce more fruit, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And this is where Monsanto comes in. Monsanto was one of the biggest agricultural biotech corporations in the world, founded back in 1901. They specialized in genetically engineering crops, corn, soybeans, and cotton to be more resistant to their herbicides called Roundup. The idea was simple. Farmers could spray their entire fields with Roundup to kill weeds and their crops would survive untouched.
Friday, a jury in San Francisco found biochemical giant Monsanto liable for former school groundskeeper Dwayne Johnson's cancer.
At first, this worked brilliantly, but nature doesn't like to be outsmarted. Over time, weeds evolved resistance to Roundup, turning into what farmers now call super weeds. Plants that spread faster and are nearly impossible to kill. Farmers have to use stronger and more toxic chemicals just to keep up. This is the exact problem we're talking about, dabbling in plant genetics and ecosystems without fully understanding the long-term effects. We thought we had control, but we ended up creating an even bigger monster. But what happens if we don't need to interfere? What happens if plants are evolving without our help? Plants really don't need us. They've been thriving for millions of years and they'll continue evolving without us. Plants can even survive the worst mistakes that humans have thrown at them. Of course, you know the story. In 1986, a nuclear meltdown in Chernobyl released massive amounts of radiation into the environment surrounding the nuclear power plant. You'd think in this awful circumstance, plants would be negatively affected, but they're really not. Plants are mutating rapidly to evolve, having absolutely no problem thriving in even the worst parts of the city. Not a plant, but certain types of fungi have evolved to be able to absorb radiation and use it as an energy source. It's not on topic, but it's still super cool. Without human interference, these plants have begun taking over the city that, due to our air, we can no longer live in. So even in a nuclear apocalypse, I believe plants will still be here long after us. Speaking of apocalypse, you may be wondering how plants could end us like the thumbnail says. Weeds already harm the crops that they grow around. Now think of this on a much larger and harder to get rid of scale. The kudzu we mentioned earlier easily outcompetes crops for nutrients and sunlight. They also literally wrap around the stalks of other plants, essentially strangling them. Just one of these plants can cost a farmer millions in lost yields. What happens if this continues or a different plant evolves similarly? Some plants even have a form of chemical warfare where they release chemicals into the soil, killing off other plants. If a plant that rapidly spreads adopted this trait, they would easily make the food we need to eat extremely scarce. But not just the food we eat, also the food animals need to survive could be affected. This could lead to a complete collapse of every ecosystem, leading to a hypothetical mass extinction of thousands of affected plants and animals. This is just the big picture, but can you actually imagine the ripple effects that could come from having just one plant take over? Just think of the clothing, pharmaceuticals, food. It would completely change our way of life forever, or even potentially end it. Even worse, if the plant that takes over kills off all the major oxygen producers, we would literally be choked to death. This is a crazy hypothetical collapse of society that you never hear anyone talk about. This is why there's such strict restrictions on plants and seeds that you bring across borders. Like the kudzu example, once an invasive species is introduced, it can be a nightmare to get rid of. Agencies like the USDA's APHIS and the US Customs and Border Protection enforce these rules at airports and shipping ports. They inspect luggage, packages, and cargo because even a single seed can start a full-blown invasion. And those rules aren't just red tape, there's real risk. Invasive plants can destroy crops, choke out native species, and cost billions of dollars to control. Kudzu was brought to the US on purpose, and it now covers millions of acres. Imagine what could happen if something even worse slipped through. This video wasn't meant as a doomsday warning, it was just an interesting look at a topic that I found extremely interesting. Out of all the ways humanity could end, maybe the most unexpected is a quiet green takeover. No explosions, no chaos, just plants slowly taking over, starving us of resources without us even noticing. I really enjoyed diving into this subject, and I hope you did too. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you like this video, drop a like or a sub, I don't care. I care a little. And to lighten up a mood, here's a video of my bunnies enjoying their greens because if plants do take over, at least somebody's enjoying it. See you next time.
Take a hit of this. Take a hit. This shit good. No. She likes it. Why don't you want it? That shit good. Why don't you want any? Usually, you're the gluttonous one. I put that on her head so long ago. She is still wearing it. Oh, she's so cute.